How do you feel about having your man, your boyfriend, sell you out to his friends? How do you think about having your man embarrass you in front of his friends? Have you ever dated a man who shares the details of your intimate moments with his friends? What should we call such a behavior? An ego boost, insecurity, childishness, or stupidity?
I don't know if I'm just making this up or if it's just my intuition, but I have this feeling that the guy I'm seeing at the moment, he's getting off and having his little ego stroked by the fact that his housemates have heard us. I don't know if it's legit or not, but there's just some things that I'm just questioning. Like, he never tells me if there's other people in the house, and he never tells me to keep it down or anything like that. And when I ask, are there people here? He'll say no at times, but then there are. And then when we go downstairs, they kind of make these weird eye contact with each other and they're like, And it's a very boy club because it's a bunch of dudes living in a house together. And he seems insecure, like it seems like it's like an ego thing, but I'm not too sure, but it's weird and I don't know.
There is a high probability that her thoughts are exactly what it is, because some guys are into that, especially in such an environment. Hello fam, how you all doing? Happy new week to everyone. Please take a moment to like this video and subscribe. Thanks for your support. This video is about men embarrassing women, using women to boost their ego. Some men sleep with women just to boost their ego, and after doing that, you find them sharing the details of the intimacy with their friends, and when the woman comes around, it's either the friends are acting weird or they are talking behind her and laughing about it. This happens a lot in a university setting, and some adult men also do that. So we're going to discuss this in the video. I also have a video clip coming up of a man that took his sickle-celled wife up the mountain for hiking and she almost lost her life. Make sure you watch to the end so you don't miss out on that.
Having his little ego stroked by the fact that his housemates have heard us.
This creator talks about how she feels like the guy she's seeing gets off on knowing that his housemates have heard them sleeping together. She says he seems insecure and that it seems to be an ego thing, but that she's unsure if she's making it up. I think she's on the right track, but I'm going to break down what he told her in the hopes that verbalizing what's going on might help her and others get a clearer perspective on what's happening in situations like that. So she says that he never tells her when his roommates are in the house, and his housemates are all men, and he never tells her to keep it down when they're sleeping together in the house. Men are very aware of the fears and boundaries that women have when it comes to interacting with men in general, but especially in the bedroom. For most of them, it's subconscious, but remember, bedding women is considered a status symbol among other men. So in order to try and get women into bed, they have to understand how to overcome a woman's fears and boundaries to get her in bed. That's why a lot of these guys act very friendly and reliable at first, make you feel safe around them, and then once they have you, they suddenly start acting casual. I don't know if that's the case here, but that's just good to know in general. Men aren't stupid. Now, not letting you know if anyone else is home when he's only got male housemates leaves you guessing with regards to how you can act around the house. He understands that by leaving you in the dark, this benefits him. He knows you'd be embarrassed. Clearly this is something that you've even communicated, and even if you hadn't, that would be made clear through context clues. So him not telling you when his roommates are home is him not respecting your boundaries around such things. He likely knew that he was crossing your boundaries by withholding this information from you, but didn't think it was a big deal. That's a huge thing to keep in mind. He's pushed your boundaries by not telling you to keep it down and not telling you to be more quiet, because according to your intuition, it's an ego boost for him that his housemates hear you. I completely agree. I think he understands that on some level, even though he might not be consciously aware of why he does it, but that's irrelevant. He's pushing your boundaries and using you to boost his ego. That shows a sense of entitlement and a lack of accountability, as well as a need for attention. Notice how the attention and connection he has with you while he sleeps with you isn't sufficient. He wants to know that he has his housemates' attention on top of that. And in your next point, that's made clear. When men push your boundaries and they don't get an immediate pushback, they take that as a sign that it's safe for them to push further. The pushback would be in the form of an immediate strong reaction followed by withdrawing from the situation. You could tell him, it goes without saying that you must tell me when your housemates are home because I don't want them to hear me. This is unacceptable, I'm going home. A decent man would recognize and empathize with why you're upset about this, explain why it was a genuine mistake if it was, and promise to do better in the future, which would be followed by consistent action in accordance with that promise. A not so decent man would start with denial, and if you don't back down after that, would try gaslighting or blame shifting or belittling or triangulation to get you back under control, which is your sign to escape and block them everywhere and never talk to them again. I fully understand why you probably didn't do that in the moment. I don't know if you did, but this behavior starts out with a lot of plausible deniability to make you second guess yourself, which makes it easier to manipulate and helps these types of guys test how far they can push you. If the first boundary push doesn't get addressed, they will escalate their behavior further. In their mind, they might now actually think that this means you're okay with it, even though they're capable of logic and reasoning and understand that you're probably not, even if you didn't say anything. So this happened, and then you mentioned you asked him one time if his housemates are home, and he said no, but it turned out that they were. So, he lied to you. He didn't say, I don't think so, or I don't know, let me check. He said no. He knows that you're asking to prevent what happened last time from occurring again. But since he wants to use you to boost his ego again, he deceived you, so you wouldn't be quiet when you guys slept together and his housemates could hear you. This now establishes enough of a pattern that I'm going to conclude that this man is controlling. So, here's what I think the intentions behind his actions might have been. Like I said, bedding women is a status symbol among men, and male hierarchical structures are very rigid and all-encompassing. He controls the way he's perceived in the eyes of his housemates by letting them hear you sleep together. It's not only done to boost his ego, it's also done to establish his dominance over his housemates. He controls your interaction with him by leaving you in the dark about the fact that his housemates will hear you. He also tests his control over you by pushing on your boundaries in a small way to see if you're going to protest or not, in a situation where he still has plausible deniability, when he actually might not have known that his housemates are home, when in reality, he wouldn't have cared either way, and he encouraged it if they were. Now, I don't know the exact situation, but if you didn't call him out on it and left, your inaction would have confirmed his control over you in his mind, which means he will push you further, which is what he did. When you asked directly if anyone else is home, you threatened his control in his mind because you questioned him, and because he can infer, consciously or subconsciously, that you don't want to play along anymore. He reasserts control over you by lying to you and making you do what he wants in that way. I understand that for someone who never examined the behavior of people like this in depth, this could seem like a stretch, because they've never seen how vague the red flags can be to begin with. But ask yourself this. If a decent man felt that he was dating his dream woman, would he risk her trust and respect over something like this? Or would he go out of his way to ensure that she sees him in the best light? And wouldn't he also make sure that his housemates respect her and don't look at her in a sexual way? Because that's another thing. He's not shielding her from his friends looking at her as a sexual object. In fact, he revels in it. He's dangling you in front of them, saying, look at what I got, isn't she sweet, but you love to have a taste as well, even though he knows you don't enjoy it. There are plenty of kind, loving, and caring men out there, and they will find their way to you once you heed the warning signs and get out of relationships with controlling men at the first sight of trouble. I don't blame you at all for doubting yourself, and you have the right intuition. Just know that he's sowing those seeds of self-doubt within you, because that makes you easier to control, and whether he's aware of why he's doing it is completely irrelevant. You deserve better, and there is so much better out there. I wish you all the best. Props for staying connected to your intuition and asking for advice. You clearly got a good read on this dude. Trust yourself.
To make this as short as possible, I live with my boyfriend in a shared house. His friend came over and they were playing on the PS4. I was sat in the room with him and my boyfriend paused it to go to the bathroom. His friend is a guy I've known for a while and get along with. We started to have a conversation and I asked him about how his girlfriend was, as I know her well too. We got talking about me and my boyfriend living in a shared flat etc. And I made a comment about privacy issues. It's a bit awkward when we go to bed, as I'm afraid the others might hear. Not as much freedom as living alone, you know. He replied, don't act all shy with me. I've heard about how much of a freak you are. I was taken aback but laughed it off. I was actually stunned for a bit and embarrassed. What did he know? I asked my boyfriend once he left and told him how uncomfortable it had made me. He looked pissed that his friend had said anything but apologized. Nonetheless, I'm still feeling weird about it. Is it common for guys to tell other guys these things?
I found out he talks bad about me to his friends. Should I be mad? So here's a question, right? I can't tell you what to feel, but what I can tell you is that he's going behind your back, talking bad about you and to your face telling you he cares about you and he loves you and he wants to be with you and he would never do stuff like this, right? That would make me question his character and the character of his friends. Imagine you walk into a room full of his friends and he just roasted you and they're all sitting there. I know what he said about her. What kind of friend circle does he have? What kind of person is he? So who else can't you trust him around if that's the case, right? Who else is he talking bad about you to? Behind your back? Could it be other women? Could it be other family members or relatives? Is this the kind of man that you can trust? That's all I can say.
I want to touch on why some men let their friends disrespect and degrade you as the woman that's with him. So here's the thing about these guys, right? These guys, they live for being accepted. Okay, not only by women, but they also live to be accepted by social masses, right? And if he lets someone disrespect you, he's doing it because he knows then these men would want to be like him. They want to have a woman like him, even though it's just an entirely false reality, right? And here's what it looks like in your relationship once something like this happens and the man gets behind the closed door with you and he promises you all these things. I promise to do better. I promise to protect you. I promise to defend you. I promise to be more attentive and be more affectionate. You have to really pay attention, assuming that you don't leave this guy. You have to pay attention to how public he makes these promises, because here's the thing, okay, and this is all by design in the man's mind. If he promises you the world behind a closed door, that's one thing, because if he doesn't deliver, then it's your word against his, okay? He still stands a chance to discredit anything you say. If he goes out into society and he proves his love and he promises the world and he doesn't deliver, the masses then do not accept him, in which, therefore, he is really not living for his main purpose, and that is to manipulate everyone. There's no manipulation when everybody knows that you're a toxic POS. There is still a room for growth and standards within the POS system if he promises you behind closed doors and doesn't deliver. So it's all about how manipulative he wants to be, and it's all about how much thought he puts into how he wants to be accepted.
I don't like it when your friend tries to embarrass you in front of people. For what? Just for the attention? By doing so, I guess it makes them feel like they have the upper hand. Whatever the reason is, it's so pointless. I think it's gotta do something with the ego. Because when that friend makes fun of you and wanna make other people laugh by doing that, I guess they feel more masculine. But that's such a dumb way to do it. Because you can prove your masculinity if you really wanted to, in so many different ways, but instead, you chose your friend to be the victim of your insecurity. And as a result, instead of looking like you control the situation, you look like someone who's just being a jerk to his friend. So the tacit agreement you should have with your friends is that never disrespect your friend or make your friend look stupid in front of people that you don't know. I feel like that's an important promise to keep with your friends without even having the need to mention it. Because once you break that, the friend that you made feel stupid will remember it and slowly lose its respect for you. I feel like some people think that just because you're close to them, you can treat them however you want because you're comfortable with them. You think that they will understand you, but nah, I think it's the opposite. You should be more respectful the closer you are. Treat people that you care about the way that you want to be treated. It's not about how long you've known them for and how close you are. It's about how you make them feel in moments that matter.
There is nothing cute about a man sharing your intimate moments with his friends. It's disrespectful. That man has no regard for you. That man is childish. He's a boy. If you're in a relationship with such a person, I think you should just leave, because that man is going to do worse. That man is selfish. He doesn't care about you. All he cares about is you boasting his ego, him using you to boost his ego, and how his friends perceives him. If a man can do such to you, what more can't he do to you? 2 days ago, I made a video, and in that video, I had a video clip of a man that went hiking with his sickle-celled wife. And I had mentioned in that video that I was not 100% in agreement with the narrator's point of view, and that video wasn't the complete video. And I went to the comment section and I read a couple of comments. So I decided to put the complete video here. This creator is good at what she does. She gives a detailed analysis and explanation to men's folly regarding women. Please head on to her page to watch the other part of this video. This video I'm about to play for you has part 2, and in that part 2, she revealed that this man is a pastor, and she also spoke about the man wanting to propose to the girl at a friend's wedding. Please head on to her TikTok page once you're done watching this video and watch the part 2 of it. Sorry, I just couldn't put all of it here. It's not my content, so please go support her. She's doing a great job, and I believe you will enjoy the recent content she started posting on her page on TikTok.
Men need to stop joking about how they almost killed their wives. The title reads like a confession. He took his iron-deficient wife, who suffers from sickle cell anemia, hiking up the Rainbow Mountain Trek in Peru, then recorded her suffering all the way through, and posted it on the internet with a funny sound to gaslight her and everyone else to make sure that they all laughed about her misery just like he did. Commenters then informed her that nothing about this is funny and that he could have killed her by taking her in such a high altitude without oxygen. She then took the fall for him.
Everyone is ripping into my poor husband, but we both didn't know that doing this hike could kill me. This is how we found out that you can die if you have sickle cell and go in high altitudes.
When men endanger women in nature like this, the number one excuse is always obliviousness and weaponized incompetence, and women are expected to accept that men just aren't wired like we are. He just didn't realize that she was miserable while he literally filmed her blacking out. Men aren't stupid, and this is his wife. Even if he didn't know that people with sickle cell can die in high altitudes, it would have required very little research for him to realize that this isn't safe, and he should have turned around the second he saw that she was generally miserable if he cared about her. If he just looked up the website of this mountain, he'd have learned that the Rainbow Mountain Trek in Peru reaches its peak at 1,500 feet, which is almost half the height of Mount Everest, and that even people who don't suffer from his wife's disease can experience altitude sickness, which he references. This is also why some travel companies bring an oxygen tank. Not all travel companies do this, however, and clearly whoever he booked with did not, or else he would have shown himself as the knight in shining armor, providing his wife with oxygen to save her from the mortal danger he put her in to begin with. And we know she would have needed it, because he shows her blacking out. There is no plausible deniability here. Even though he tries to claim otherwise, there is no way he didn't learn this when he booked the trip. I only spent 5 minutes looking up this mountain, and it states everywhere that this hike is very strenuous for most people and that even healthy people can suffer from altitude sickness. Their TikTok is about them traveling the world together, and the Rainbow Mountain is a popular photo op for influencers due to its unique color. He knowingly endangered his wife for clout, joked about her suffering, and then publicly humiliated her by putting this on their joint TikTok account, letting the whole world know that he did this to her. This is evidence of a lack of empathy, a lack of accountability, a sense of entitlement, haughtiness, vanity, and the desire to showcase. The fact that he did not join her in that follow-up video when she apologized, but let her take the fall for him, also denotes his lack of shame or remorse, since he did not deem it necessary to support his wife or explain himself, even though he's the one who put her into this situation. He endangered her and then pushed her to defend his abusive behavior, further adding insult to injury. He weaponizes his control over his wife against the critics in the comments, as if to state, "See, she didn't know either. She's okay with it, so you all need to get off my back." This is his attempt to regain control over the narrative by guilting the commenters into shutting their mouths. This also evidences his tendency to deflect and blame shift by making her say that she did not know the specific risks of her disease either, which is completely irrelevant to what he knowingly did. He does this to retroactively establish some plausible deniability, and he manages to control some of the commenters using this tactic, because they then shift to victim blaming her, when really, he didn't need to know that the altitude could kill his wife. He saw her suffering for hours on end and mocked her while recording it. He also shows traits of grandiosity. The way he edited his footage makes her the butt of the joke. He's so self-centered he couldn't even see that he's the fool for being caught on God's internet treating her this way. His inability to predict the backlash shows you how he sees the world. He's no Edmund Hillary himself. He's not in great shape. But he felt powerful and superior when watching his wife struggle to stay on her feet. Watching her in her weakest state made him feel strong, but clearly it also made him feel disdain for his wife for not living up to his standards. He knows she didn't enjoy this hike at any point, but kept pushing her, because he needs her for the social media photo op. She's an object to him, a prop that he gets to control. And he thought this was peak comedy. When he did this to her, but also when he edited and uploaded the footage afterwards, he did so to assert control over her and their audience. He thought people would join in and make fun of his wife, and that she would confirm his control over her by making self-deprecating jokes in the comments. And a lot of commenters fell for his scheme, but the backlash and the people pointing out that he could have killed her threatened his control, which resulted in him further abusing his wife by making her take the fall for him in the follow-up video. Despite his efforts to deflect and shift the blame on her, she's not to blame for any of this. They've been traveling the world together for months, which means she's mostly isolated from a support system. Traveling can be quite challenging for people with sickle cell and anemia, and he uses his sickness and his sleep deprivation to wear down her defenses. Whether or not he knew that he could have killed his wife with this is irrelevant. Any decent man would have turned around once they saw his wife back out, and at the very least they would have carried her the rest of the way. I make these videos because I want to help you detect abusive behavioral patterns, but I hope that providing you with these case studies will also make you more compassionate towards the victims who suffer this abuse. It's easy to point the finger when we see the abuser's mask drop, but let's not forget that these men go to great lengths to seduce and isolate their victims initially and maintain a strong facade. They also tend to pick victims who have suffered familiar abuse as children because these victims have already been primed to accept this relationship dynamic as normal. He gave her a picture-perfect wedding by the looks of it, only to turn around when he had her and present her like this to the internet.
You're not well. You go.
We're all vulnerable to manipulation, but if we can turn them into learning lessons, something good might come of the bad after all.
She made a follow-up video, and that video is on her TikTok page. Her TikTok page is on the screen. Please head over to her TikTok page to watch the part 2 of it. Let me read the comments I got on my channel regarding this clip. I had posted a part of this video 2 days ago and some people reacted. Let's have a look. In my country, there was a case with an inexperienced group of tourists on really a high mountain. There was a married couple amongst that tourist. The wife had asthma. Suddenly, they found themselves in a really nasty weather near the peak of the mountain, and the husband started to help not his wife, but another woman. At that moment, he started helping other woman. His wife was conscious and could walk with help of other person in the group. According to the husband, his wife had less chance to survive, so he helped a woman who had more chances. His wife died, and now he's trying to sue the instructors. That story is extremely... I did read some comments on the TikTok where this video was posted, and some women were saying that some men are very intentional. They set their wife up to die so they can get her life insurance money. Okay, let's assume the woman with sickle cell and her husband truly didn't know she could have issues at that altitude. The worst part for me is how he filmed and watched her pass out and didn't react. Granted, I didn't see the entire video, but if my partner started to pass out, the video would go crazy as I jumped and ran to them. Disgusting behavior. I'd argue it's negligence from that man with the wife with sickle cell. There is men who love intentionally endangering their girlfriends and wives, and then there is negligent men that insist on endangering the both of you by diving into things without doing a bare minimum research into safety. They are not really any different from each other, because if you pick up the slack by doing the basic safety research for the both of you, the negligent man will fight you for suggesting any kind of safety measures or cautions. When I inserted this video in the previous video I made, my intent was to let women know that you don't depend on a man 100% for your protection. Your protection should be your responsibility. If a man decides to assist, that should be a bonus. And I also blamed the woman for not doing research. She's the one that has the sickle cell, not the husband. From the look of things, it seems like she depends on the husband for a lot of things. The husband failed her for not doing research. Let's say it was due to negligence or they were ignorant, whichever one. Why didn't she do the research herself? Why isn't she aware that altitude has a negative effect on her condition? That was my own point of view, and that was the reason I inserted that video. I'm not in any way saying that what she's saying or her conversation is right or wrong. I'm not in any way saying that the narrator's explanation is completely wrong, and to be honest with you, I don't really know what the man's intentions are. There are men like that from her narration and from life experience, from case studies, from stories. Some men are this way. They intentionally endanger their wives. In this particular case, it's hard for me to tell if that's the man's intent. Listen to her narration and pick the lessons you need to pick from it. This just might be negligence. People that were just ignorant of a situation and did not do the necessary research. It could also be that the man intentionally neglected the situation and wanted to endanger the wife. That I really cannot prove. What do you think about this? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you would love to know why some men love crazy and toxic women, click this video here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.